What systems would you use to run a semi-realistic, semi-historical game for a group of mercenaries? Anything available to look into for us, sanctioned out of Dollar World people, would be appreciated twice as much.
As ever, a lot will depend on your group. You know your group better than I do. You know their system and flexibility and everything else. So, yeah, you know that approach. You didn't specify what genre, which makes things more difficult for me to answer. But I think a good universal sort of rule here would be to look for something that supports military style play, whatever the genre. So heavy gear, previous editions, if you like science fiction and mecha, Traveller, the sort of tour of duty system that you have in character creation. You can create militarily competent characters and have them come out of that. Those are both kind of science fiction, though. You're probably asking about fantasy. So when it comes to fantasy, Streets of Peril might be a good choice. Warhammer First Edition, if you can get it. Current Edition, if you can't. If you take out the magical and fantasy elements from Warhammer, it's a pretty brutal sort of system. And obviously it has a pedigree in tabletop wargaming as well. So that works quite well. The non-D20 version of Iron Kingdoms, again, if you strip out the magic and so on, there's quite a lot of that same sort of heritage coming from wargaming. So there's a lot of support material in that for running mercenary companies specifically and so on. Perhaps not quite as realistic as you would be looking for. There are numerous old school takes on gaming that are high lethality, low hit points, and so with a few other optional rules, you have the familiarity of a D20 rule set, of an OSR rule set, but it can play more realistically. Wretched would probably be a reasonable choice for that. The recent sort of Polish game by Pundit, perhaps, might suit for that. There's plenty of other choices when it comes to gritty, dark OSR type fantasy. Weird one here, bit left field, but you could adapt Traveller's engine, and there are open versions of the Traveller rule set. So again, like the Tours of Duty, when you create your characters, lends it to that. It's quite a high lethality, semi-realistic system. I don't personally feel like it has enough granularity, but it has been used in the past for military-oriented campaigns. That basic system, the old Games Designers Workshop system, Twilight 2000 was originally using that system. Traveller, you can play military campaigns in Traveller, so that's not a bad option, though you'll need to do some work to make it fit with a sort of fantasy setting. And I think a good standby, particularly if you're after some sort of granularity and realism, would be basic roleplay. There are quick starts and SRD versions of the rules out there for that, which addresses the other part of your question. It's been used for RuneQuest, it's been used for Call of Cthulhu. That basic rule system, which in various forms is out there and you can get hold of it, that would definitely suit a sort of low magic, no magic, low fantasy, no fantasy sort of game. So if you're after that side of lethality and a good system for advancement, by doing, then I think BRP, basic role playing and its derivatives, is a good choice for that. See, Traveller might be a bit of an issue for you because it doesn't really have a progression system per se. So yeah, but those would probably be my top choices: BRP and the underlying Traveller system. But the Traveller system will take more work. There's plenty of stuff out there for BRP, in terms of like RuneQuest and so on that you could use.